A concerned citizen and the Rogers County Sheriff are saying a change needs to be made at the state level to prevent inhumane dog breeding. Thank you so much for joining us at 6. I'm Shay Rozzi.
And I'm Nathan Thompson. This comes after the rescue of about 150 beagles from 2 Rogers County properties owned by the same person.
Fox 23's Devin Lyon joins us in studio. Devin, you talked to the sheriff and this concerned woman who lived right next door to the property owner where this was all happening.
That's right, and she described it as like a living nightmare, one that was too hard to prove until now. From 2 separate interviews, I found there is a disconnect between state law, a state agency, and local law enforcement, and it all comes back to that one state law.
Not even yipping. I mean, if you've ever heard a group of beagles or hound dogs start baying, it had to have been 50 or more dogs all going off at once, to where it was just deafening.
Cindy used to live right next to the Claremore property that was the site of an inhumane breeder rescue. Rogers County deputies and the Department of Agriculture rescued nearly 150 beagles there 1 week ago. She says it had been an issue for over 20 years.
These animals have been in the same condition since 2011. How did she get her license in the first place? I personally can trace it all the way back to at least 5 years before the law was passed. I know she was there. I know that she had so many dogs that the noise level, we couldn't even hear our TV over the noise, so we know it was there. So how did she get her license in 2011? Who went out and checked and made sure these dogs were being kept humanely?
A state law was passed back in 2011 to require licensing for breeders and crack down on cases like this one. But Cindy questions if there has been any follow-up or enforcement at the state level.
What is inside of this law that actually, in practical application, protects the animals? You know, theory, that's great. And whenever you put a law in place or a policy or a procedure, it's all theoretical. So what happened after the fact to follow up and make sure that in practical application, this law actually did protect the animals? Because this case shows that it didn't. It's not working.
Rogers County Sheriff Scott Walton agreed in a separate interview. He says the Department of Agriculture needs to be checking on the licensed breeders and following up with charges when revoked.
How can they help it?
Yeah.
Do their job, you know, and first of all, monitor this stuff. It was not until March of 2025 that the State Department of Ag, keep in mind, that issues these permits and license, revoked her license as a breeder, okay? It's like taking a driver's license away from some thug that wants to keep driving. He's gonna keep driving whether he's got a driver's license or not. She was going to keep breeding dogs as well.
He tells me although he appreciates the Department of Agriculture's help, they left the job unfinished and cast that burden on the backs of local law enforcement.
Here we are getting something else, you know, thrown in our lap by a state agency that's better funded, better paid, certainly a lot less worked than we are. But we'll get the ball in the end zone.
They both say something needs to be done at the state level, and this case can guide lawmakers to fixing the issue.
Great. It's theory. You guys took the first step. You enacted the law. Bravo. Kudos to you. You know, let's make sure that we take it to the next step and we look at why the law did not protect these particular animals.
Now, I did reach out to the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture asking about their policies around when their investigations trade hands to local law enforcement and if they do routine checks around licensed breeders. I offered them an on-camera interview on this case, but I have not yet heard back. Live in studio covering news that matters, Devin Lyon, Fox 23 News.
There have been no charges filed against the breeder of those beagles. Sheriff Walton told us previously it would depend on the condition of the dogs. Some of those dogs are adoptable now. If you're interested, we have the information for you in this story on fox23.com.